friends, thank you for joining me for another live training. So today I've got a action-packed training for you. Cramming a lot in here, so we're not going to take as much of the fun fluff time to warm things up as we normally do. I'm going to dive right in, make sure that you guys can get as much value as you're taking time away from your work day there. So if you are here with me live, if you can go ahead and comment, give me a like, let me know that you can hear me. I would appreciate that. And if you do like anything that I'm talking about throughout this presentation, feel free to leave a comment, ask some questions, and a like as we can expand the reach. So today we are going to talk about how to become the relevant recruiter in your market. Look, guys, I mean, you've got new recruiters dumping into this industry every single day. And if we're being honest, it's never been easy to differentiate ourselves. So there's more competition than ever, especially with a market like it is. But we're looking at differentiation as a recruiter. Being brutally honest, most of you, and this isn't your fault, are just a commodity. And what we're going to talk about in this video, in this training specifically, is how you can stand out from the competition and become the most relevant recruiter in your market. Now, why would you even want to take time to listen to this video? Why would you even want to take time to do that? Well, relevancy is the key to draw other people's attention. And in a market like this, it is critically important to have the ability to capture the attention of your market. Okay. The other thing is when you have relevancy, there's more clarity for you and your business. There's also clarity from your market. And we'll dive into that in detail here shortly. The other thing is relevancy allows you to charge higher fees because you're different from your competition. You're no longer a commodity. Relevancy will increase your conversations with candidates. Relevancy will increase the conversations of your clients. So that's why you should be here today. That's what we're going to dive into. So welcome to the show. So the first thing we're going to talk about is how do you stand out in the market? And this is what we call the relevant recruiter method that we're going to walk you through here. Okay. And the first part of this methodology is standing out in the market. And so what that looks like is, one of the first things is we have to have clarity on an ideal client. And I find that a lot of recruiting agencies, especially folks that are starting out, and even established ones, have a hard time identifying an ideal client. And that usually comes into the fact because they can recruit multiple positions. And so sometimes the thinking is, well, if I keep myself broad, then I'll have more opportunities to work on. But when it comes to being relevant, it's the worst thing that you can do for you. So you want to really clearly define an ideal target market, a niche, if you will, and really stand out in that market. Okay. And again, it has nothing to do with your ability to recruit, but it has everything to do with your ability to become relevant. Is I need to know first who I'm trying to be relevant to. And so you really want to understand your client at a deep, deep level. What a company is going through at a Fortune 100 through hiring versus what a company is going through on a small to medium-sized business is really an apple and an orange. And so you need to know which one do you serve, because in order to become relevant, we need to know our market's pains, their problems, some outcomes that they're really after, and be able to articulate that. And we'll talk through that as we continue to go. But that's the first thing, is understanding your ideal client, because a lot of folks are getting a lot of business and a lot of job orders, but they're really viewed as just an order taker. They're not really viewed as a partner in the firm. And I think that's an opportunity. If you aren't really viewed as a partner, that's something that you should really focus on, and your being relevant will help you become more of a partner with your companies rather than just another order taker, another recruiter in the companies there. Okay. The next thing, once you understand who that ideal market is, the other thing you need to understand is what is your unique advantage? And we're just talking specifically for you as a recruiter. What is your unique unfair advantage? What makes you different than the actual next recruiter there? So how do you get to that? Well, you want to focus on what are your actual skills, right? What is your knowledge? What is your talent? What are your connections? Okay. What is your character? And when you start to put all of these things together, you can develop your own unfair, unique advantage. And when you get the unfair, unique advantage right, then your prospects are going to start to become, more into what you have going on and paying more attention because you're becoming more relevant to them. Now, the next step is your positioning. Positioning really, I think a lot of people misunderstand positioning. It's taken me years to really figure out positioning, but essentially, in so many words, positioning is just really where you want to sit in the market, what you want your market to see you as. But you need to have good positioning so that you can stand out. And again, this is the whole first framework of the relevant recruiter method, is to stand out. And ultimately, you can position yourself as being an authority in the market. You can be that, or you can be the low price leader. But to have congruent positioning, you don't want to say that you're an authority and then go charge a 10% fee. That's off, right? That would be, it's not a congruent positioning in the marketplace. So you want to make sure that how you show up, your unfair advantage, your ideal customer, you want to make sure that you position yourself as somebody that they want to work to. So that's the first foundation of being relevant is standing out. Okay. Now the next thing is we want to take a platform like LinkedIn and turn this into a lead machine. And so what do we do that? In order to become relevant, we need to build an audience, right? And so that's the number one thing you should be doing on LinkedIn every single day is you should be connecting with your ideal client decision makers and gatekeepers on a daily basis. Okay. Why? Because if you're not connected with anybody, if nobody knows who you are, it doesn't matter what kind of messaging you have, what kind of marketing you have, what kind of unique unfair advantage you have. Once you have this foundation laid, you need to go spread your word to the masses. And LinkedIn is the greatest place to be able to target our clients, target our candidates, and really build that audience. So that's the first thing is when you start to look at his LinkedIn connection in general, that's one thing, you're building your network, but really I want you to start thinking of this as you're building an audience. Okay. Why? Because when we market, we're marketing to an audience. Now, you don't want it to end up being an audience. You want to turn your audience into a community, and that comes from being able to show up consistently and be relevant. Okay. Now, once you build that audience and you start connecting with people every day, don't just connect and then have them be a part of your network. Engage with them. Okay. But this is where a lot of people really don't know what to do or how to engage. Okay. So here's a couple of tips. The number one tip is don't sell. Just don't sell right away. If you're relevant, you don't need to always be selling your business. Connect with somebody, start thoughtful dialogue with them, ask them some questions, connect with them and share some value about some things and trends that you're seeing in the industry. But you don't need to connect with everybody and ask them if they want to get on the phone and share some special thing that you have. You're just going to turn your market off by doing things that way. All right. Now, the next thing we want to be looking at is as you continue to grow your network, is continuing this dialogue and being able to follow up with people. I just got a message from a lady the other day who I read her message. I have not responded yet. But she's top of mind for me because I know who she is. But if she would respond, she'd probably get a response from me a lot quicker because her message is actually, it is relevant to me, but I'm busy and my mind is distracted in another way. And so, making sure that when you are building your LinkedIn network and having conversations, follow up with the people that you're having conversations with. The next thing is LinkedIn messaging is an email platform. And I see so many people just sending out these long messages. Look, 2-3 sentences and get out. Short. People are short attention spans than we normally are. People are, moving and shaking, especially your clients and candidates. They're busy people, right? So how can I capture them with quick, short, witty messages? There's obviously a skill to that. But if you're doing this right now and you're sending long messages to people, they're just not going to respond. They just don't have time to read them. Okay. And then the other thing to consider on the LinkedIn side is how can you show up differently, right? How can you use voice notes or how can you use video in your direct messaging outreach? Okay. Again, I'm just trying to become relevant. I'm trying to become known in the marketplace. And we all know, even in a market like this where people are hiring like crazy, still not everybody's hiring. And that's really where kind of ties us into our next step, which is you want to really focus on creating content that converts, because use content to get people to know who you are. Use people to get use content to get people to like you. Use content to get people to trust you, right? And so that's where your content comes into play. But just creating fluffy content isn't going to get you too far. So you want to make sure that you're creating content for your ideal client so that you can attract them in. And there's really different types of content that you need to create based on where somebody might be at in their hiring journey or in their career journey. Everybody might be in a different place of pain or problem or solution, and having multiple different pieces of content that can walk people along through different stages is really, really important. And when you do your content right, that's where you get the inbound leads, right? That's where you really ultimately plant yourself as being the most relevant recruiter in your market. Okay. Now, one of the things that can really be powerful for your content, and I'll be honest, this is where most recruiters are missing out, is by creating a process and a methodology. And the reason is one, the process and methodology will give you clarity on the content that you want to create. Okay. But two, especially for those of you that are really serious about scaling, if your whole business is about buying into you, then it's going to be tough to scale. But when you have a process or a methodology that you can sell, then when you look to scale, then your clients and candidates aren't necessarily buying you per se, but they're buying your process, they're buying your methodology. Well, hey, Donnie, everybody uses the same process. You might be right. I know recruiting's recruiting, and at the end of the day, we're just trying to get the best candidate to cross the finish line. But ask yourself this question: if you were browsing the marketplace and one recruiter has a way to market themselves and their process and their differentiator, and you don't, who's going to win? Well, the one who actually talks about their process. So the process is incredibly important for you for clarity on your content. It gets your market to view you as being more relevant. But like I said, it helps you scale easier because now you have a system and a process that your new employees can follow and really sell and get your market to buy into. Okay. The next thing is really focusing on multi-channel. And with multi-channel, what I mean is, LinkedIn is obviously a gold mine. In most markets, you're going to be able to connect with your clients and candidates. And I know a lot of folks are using, all the tools from LinkedIn, but it's not the only tool. And not every market has a huge presence on LinkedIn. And so it's important. In the other thing that I'll say too is us in the recruiting industry, you kind of wake up and you open up your LinkedIn. Well, your clients and candidates probably aren't using LinkedIn as much as you are, but they are on other social media platforms. They are on email. And that's the next part is, hey, in order to become ultra relevant, I want to make sure that I can drive as much awareness around my brand as possible. And so, the more I show up, the more relevant I become, the more awareness I drive. So one of the easiest ways to start multi-channel is just by taking all of your clients and candidates, everybody that you currently know, and then as you continue to outreach to people and people either become a client or candidate or they become a prospect where, hey, don't have anything now, reach back out in Q2, those people should be on an email campaign and not an email campaign trying to transact and share business. This should be another avenue of where you're sharing your thought leadership style of content. And that will be really, really powerful for you as you continue to move forward, is having that multi-channel approach because, hey, maybe you had a great message on LinkedIn. They didn't see it, but now they see it in your responses through email, right? People open their email every day. I think all of us open our email every day. So if you're not a part of the email plan, then you need to be. Now, email is a different giant now. And it's really important that you are, engaging with your email list on a regular basis and realizing that your competitors are, hitting their email list aggressively. And again, when you are a recruiter that's constantly reaching out through email and the only reach out is, hey, are you interested in this position? Or, hey, can I help you fill positions? You're not very relevant. You're an order taker. And when you can throw this in on top of that, because of course you need to ask, and nobody's going to argue that. We need to ask, we need to be aggressive with our prospecting efforts. But when we're adding this as a marketing element on top of it, incredibly, incredibly powerful as to what this can do for your recruiting business. So think about email first. Then from there, even if we're doing a manual process, you should have a multi-channel outreach for candidate. Hey, if you're cold calling, then drive that cold call to an email, or a LinkedIn post, and use all of those channels to build more awareness and more relevance to your messaging there. Okay. And, when people build this relevancy and they do this through time, they become the most obvious choice in their marketplace, and they're going to get more conversations with their ideal candidates. Now, here's the good news is most people don't have this foundation in place. And just simply you guys watching this and understanding this gives you a competitive advantage if you were just to watch and take action and implement the things that I just laid out there for you, which is focusing on how you're going to stand out in your market, building that ideal avatar, creating your unfair advantage, focusing on your positioning, turning LinkedIn into a lead machine, engaging with my network, building that audience, turning that audience into a community, and then creating that content so people can further get to know you, like you, trust you, and really build your authority and become relevant, in making sure that we're creating different content for different people in different stages, as well as showing up, on multiple platforms. Now, there's a right way to do this and there's a wrong way to do this. Now, here's the best news of the day. It's not easy. And you should want to hear that, because if you're hungry to grow your business, you don't want to be competing with people that want easy. That's what most people do. They want to go out and they want to run tactical marketing and tactical lead generation, and they're constantly looking for quick wins. And guess what? Those aren't the ones that are dominating. Those aren't the ones that are relevant. Becoming relevant is building this foundation, because it doesn't matter if you don't have a foundation like this, your tactics are going to mostly fall on deaf ears. I'm not saying you won't pick up quick wins, but when you put something like this together, it's dynamite. And the reason why it's important for you that it's not easy, like I said, not everybody's going to be able to do this. Not everybody's going to want to take action on this. And, it's really one of those things that you can really outpace your competition, because when you're relevant to somebody and you're at the right place at the right time with the right message, you become the authority in your marketplace. And a lot of what my clients see after implementing the relevant recruiter method is that they are increasing their revenue. They're overwhelmed. And one of the biggest things is they're working with people that know them, like them, trust them, and respect them. And they're not wasting time on orders that they won't fill. Okay. So if this is something that you want to learn about, if you're really ready to take that next action, then drop a comment below, send me a direct message, and we can talk specifically about making you the most relevant recruiter in the market. And I'll ask you right now, how have you been playing small with your personal brand? How have you been playing small with your marketing? Because if you've been playing small, this is your invitation to step up, play big, and take action and become the most relevant recruiter in the market. There's still a chance for you to own and dominate your market. Now, this is only for the ones that are serious, the ones that want to grow, the ones that are aggressive. So if that's you, drop that comment, send me a direct message, and we will talk specifically about how the relevant recruiter method can impact your attraction of clients, can impact the attraction of your candidates, but ultimately increase your revenue and make your revenue more consistent, because we can utilize tools like automation that will help, eliminate those gaps of revenue, that will help ourselves and our team reach our clients and candidates faster and increase our response rates. So this is Donnie Gupton. That's how to be the relevant recruiter in your market. Please take this training, implement what we just talked about. But if you want your handheld and you want to do this faster and you want to light this thing up, like I said, it's not easy. Not everybody's willing to do it, but the ones that are, they're seeing the benefits. We'll talk to you soon.